You're listening to the Creative Capital Podcast. You're dying to learn about how you can create wealth through real estate investing? Then you've come to the right place. Join in every week as we go over the ins and outs of real estate investing and learn how you too can become financially free.
What is going on, everybody? This is Josh Ferrari, host of the Creative Capital Podcast, and we have a two-timer this time. We've got a guy by the name of Yonah Weiss. I'm sure you've heard of him. If you haven't, you absolutely need to go check him out. He is the Cost Segregation master at saving you money on taxes, and a master networker, which is really what we're discussing today in this social media marketing aspect of real estate and of business in general. His story is really kind of powerful. It's very interesting, to say the least. Listening to him talk about, first of all, how he stumbled upon social media needing to be something that he needed to do, and then the fact that he actually took action and did it, and then where he's come from just 4 years ago when he started to where he is now. I mean, he is connected with so many high-level individuals in his industry, basically in the real estate industry. He's connected to the bigger pockets folks. He's connected to really successful capital raisers and multifamily people, single family people, folks that have been on TV shows, folks that have raised millions and billions of dollars, folks that have been in the business for decades and decades, all the way down to folks like me, or folks like you, the listener, who maybe hasn't been in this industry for a very long time, but is looking to continue to grow and scale and learn more and more, and really as much as they can in the industry. He just is an amazing networker from the standpoint of being able to reach these people, but then also he actually goes out of his way, which he mentions in the episode, to connect people with other people that really will benefit each other in the relationship. He really takes the time to get to know you on an individual level, to then be able to connect you with someone that he thinks would really help you in either your personal life or your business. And I think that's really powerful. And it's taken him a long way. If you know anything about him, if you don't, then you have to listen to this episode. You have to learn more about him, learn from where he was to where he is now, and how social media has played such a key role in that. I'm honestly just really excited for you guys to hear this show. And so we're literally just going to jump right on in. Yonah Weiss, what is going on? It's so glad to have you out on the show for the second time now. How have you been, man?
Well, I'm doing wonderful. I don't know if you can hear it. I got a little bit of a sore throat. So this morning it was totally hoarse. Like I could barely talk. But today I'm doing, the rest of the day has been pretty good. And so grateful to you. I mean, getting invited back the second time on a podcast obviously means the first one was good.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Now don't tell me that you're starting to come down with COVID. Like, is that what this little throat thing is?
No, probably not. I mean, I actually had it not so long ago. Yeah, but like 6 months ago. Very mild. But no, that's not. It can't be what this is.
Yeah, because you built up an immune system now. You're like an Incredible Hulk for COVID now, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, cool. Yonah, even though you've been here on the first or one time before, maybe not everyone knows a whole lot about you or what you're doing, even though I feel like everyone and their mom knows about you, and you're like the ultimate networker, master, professional, social media marketing dude. So tell us a little bit, like, let's basically take a step back. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and then what got you interested in investing in real estate in the first place?
Yeah, so let's take a step back. We'll go back quite a few years. I was in, teaching for many years. That was kind of my passion. It still is, to a lot of reasons, because I have 6 kids, and it's just been something I've loved to do my whole life, is just share what you know. And my kind of view on teaching is that if you know something, you can teach it. You don't have to be like an expert. You don't have to be the smartest person on the subject to be able to teach it. You just have to know something. Whatever you know, you can teach someone else. And that really helps to build relationships, right? When you can kind of help other people, you bring them up to where you're at, and then you continue growing from that. So that's a little bit about me. I mean, I was a teacher for many years. I got into real estate about 6 years ago now. Did a few fix and flips, did some brokering, did a little mortgage lending, brokering, stuff like that. I got into this cost segregation field about 4 years ago already. It's like time flies. It's crazy when you think about it, and quickly became like the industry expert on this. And the reason how do you become an industry expert on a subject that you have no background in? Right. So maybe that's really going to be what we're talking about today. It has a lot to do with social media. It has a lot to do with the fact that I have an incredible team that are the real experts of engineers and accountants that have been doing this for decades, that are at my disposal, my fingertips, that I learned everything I know from, and just bringing that background of teaching in order to be able to share that knowledge with the world. So again, I don't know everything, but I know a lot more than everyone else. And it's just built one on top of the next, every day, every week, every month, learning more, teaching more, you get that exposure.
I remember the first time that we had a phone call. We had it scheduled, and maybe it was via Calendly. Maybe we just linked up and figured out what time worked for our calendars. But I was at work at my W-2 job, turning wrenches on airplanes. And I knew that we had this call coming up, and I was like, all right, I got to run off real quick, get out of this loud hangar, get in the break room to talk to this Yonah Weiss dude about cost segregation. I mean, that's cool. Like it's something that we wanted to start incorporating in some of the deals that we had coming up the pipeline or down the pipeline. I don't know which way is it up or is it down? I don't know. Anyway, I remember going into the break room, having this conversation, and then ending it and just being like, this dude's pretty cool. Like this dude knows what he's talking. Like he knows what he's talking about. And he's like a very well connected. It is another thing that I felt like I was realizing the further and further we were getting in the conversation. It was like, yeah, I know this person, or yeah, this person too. And I'm like, what is happening? Like everyone I mentioned, this dude knows. And so from that, I want to kind of dive into what you were saying just a minute ago about your team. I mean, what exactly is your team, or who is your team? What really do they do? And then how do you think that plays a role in like your ability to be so heavily on social media?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I work for this company called Madison SPECS. Okay. It's actually a part of a larger network of companies, a commercial real estate servicing company, Madison Commercial Real Estate, Madison Title, big national company based in New Jersey. It's our main headquarters. And the SPECS company we're the biggest national cost segregation company. I mean, we're not a tax accounting firm, so we just focus solely on that. There's an in-house team of about 50 people. So you have a whole team of accountants, CPAs, engineers, a whole operations team. There's a whole sales team as well. But what I do, I have a whole team of these, everyone working on this, which really allows me to do what I do best. And I couldn't do what I do all day long, which is basically, spending a lot of time on social media, especially LinkedIn, making connections, speaking on webinars, podcasts every single day, having my own podcast, the Weiss Advice podcast, having these meetups, doing that, which is really just a way to bring people together and to network, because I find that all business comes like through that the best way possible. And so if I did not have that team of experts that are really doing all of the nitty-gritty engineering and accounting work that goes into a cost segregation study, I couldn't do anything, right? So that really frees up my time. It gives me a lot of freedom, a lot of flexibility to spend my time, how I choose.
So, Yonah, for those out there listening that can't actually see the video now, I actually have kind of a question that's somewhat off topic, but I've been wondering it for a while, ever since I've known you. Mm-hmm. How long have we been working on the beard? How long has the beard been growing out? I can't even see where it stops. It probably stops.
I gotta stand up. It's like, it keeps going and going. I gotta move the mic
out of the way.
It's
Goodness.
It's pretty long there.
How long have we been working on that, man? That's incredible.
So the great thing is there's no work involved whatsoever. So due to my religious observance as a Orthodox Hasidic Jewish person, so we have a tradition which dates thousands of years that we don't cut our beard. We don't shave any part of it whatsoever. So it's pretty easy. It's not hard work when you just never shave it. And so it's been going on. I mean, I started growing it, in my, I don't know, when I was in teenage years or whatever, 20, but yeah, it just keeps growing. Now, all those white hairs that you see, that's new. I've been working on that. I should say rather my kids have been working on that that's what teenagers will do to you. cause those white hairs. As my father, when he may be, healthy and well, he used to say all the time when I was a kid, you see these, I earned every one of them.
That's so great. Well, for those that can't see, the beard is amazing, and it's like down to his belly button almost. It is a full grown out beard. Now, Yonah, diving right into really the topic of today, which is social media marketing, give us like a bird's eye view of your social media marketing journey, and then kind of where you are now from going through that.
So the bird's eye view, it really starts and ends with LinkedIn. That's really the truth. When you speak about social media marketing in the broad sense of the term, you talk about any marketing company or digital marketing company like that, they're not necessarily going to be focused on LinkedIn. That's probably not going to be the first thing that comes to their mind. There are a lot of platforms out there. Obviously, you have Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and YouTube, and there's so many others. But for me, LinkedIn early on, and I say early on, like over 3 years ago, when I really started focusing on the cost segregation and started branching out, was for me a great way to network, a great way to meet people. LinkedIn at that time had just transitioned from being just like an online resume platform where you can just look for jobs, find jobs, post your resume. It transitioned into a much more content sharing platform. And with that, created opportunities for people to kind of test the waters of being a content creator. And being a content creator on LinkedIn was, and still is, less so than it was a few years ago, but still is the most organic, and when we say organic reach, it has the most potential for being seen by the most people, because it still hasn't come up to the speed where Instagram and Facebook, it's very watered down. There's so many people on there, and they want you to pay to play. Basically, they want you to pay to be seen. Whereas LinkedIn, it's not so much like that. Like I said, it has gotten a little more. But so for me, the fact that it was a professional atmosphere when you log onto the platform, it's positive. People are focused on growth mindset. People are focused on how to help each other. The abundance mindset of how can I share information and just teach. I started to do the same. I realized very quickly in my industry, cost segregation, it's something that either you know about it and you do it, right? And you basically know a dangerous knowledge, to know what you need to know, or you've never heard of it. There's almost no middle ground. And I'm still fascinated to this day, but I ask this question all the time, like, what do you know about cost segregation? And it's either one or the other. It's either I've never heard of it, or I've heard the word, but I have no idea what it is, or yes, I know everything about it. I use it, and that's it. So I found this big gap between that and really any niche service, whatever it is that you're doing, any niche industry, you can share that knowledge and become very quickly recognized as an expert in that space. And so for me, it kind of centered around those two concepts. One, the networking aspect, where you're out there connecting with more people, meeting more people, but simultaneously sharing information, and the opportunities that come from both of those combined was just incredible. So that's where you asked about, what is the social media marketing for me? How does that look like? It started with LinkedIn. It started with just sharing content. It has become an incredible. Now, since then, I've branched out to other platforms as well, but it still mainly is focused on LinkedIn for that very reason, because it's a professional platform. People are coming there with the business mindset. It's networking. And so you're meeting people. And I truly believe your network is your net worth, right? The more people you know and the quality of people that you know, and the more you can help. And network it's just like it sounds, right? One connection to another connection to another connection. When you're all interconnected and intertwined, that's really where real synergy, real growth starts to happen. So I focus and I go out of my way on a daily basis to help connect people, right? Make connections. Say, oh, you need to meet this person for this reason. You need to meet this person for this reason. And so I continuously do that and just see tremendous benefits from that.
So in the beginning of the journey of even doing the social media thing, I mean, like before LinkedIn, were you doing any social media? Like, did you have
nothing? Zero.
So what was the spark or the desire to be like, I need to get on social media. Here's why. Here's what it's going to do. Like, did you have all of that in your head, or you just
no? It wasn't. Nothing like that. Nothing of the sort, which is the incredible thing. I just saw an opportunity, and this is kind of my personality. When I see an opportunity, I just jump on it. And I had the faith, so to speak, to see that there was potential. And because at that time, when I stumbled upon LinkedIn, I actually came across it by accident almost. I mean, I had a LinkedIn account for like, I don't know, 10 years or something like that, right? Put my resume up there and whatnot. I didn't even have a profile picture, had like a logo or whatever, like most people did back then. And the only connections that I had maybe like 200 connections of those people that I actually knew in real life, right? Like, you mean like people you went to college with or some people that you knew from whatever. And that was it. But I tuned in, I logged on one day, like I said, by accident. I actually came to LinkedIn from Google. Okay. And so this is a really important point for anyone listening to this to understand how powerful LinkedIn is from a totally different perspective than what you may be thinking, right? Not just as a social media, not just as the interactions, as the networking, as content creation, anything like that. Totally different. It's an incredible platform because your LinkedIn profile, guaranteed, if you have a LinkedIn profile and you Google your own name, which I highly recommend everyone doing. You can do that right now. Unless you're driving, listen to this, right? Pull over to the side of the road, put in your name into Google. Unless you have an extremely common name, I guarantee you that your LinkedIn profile will be, if not the number one search result on Google, at least in the top 10, the first page, right? Guaranteed. So what does that tell you? It tells you that if you are looking to do business with someone, what's the first thing that you do? You Google their name. Usually, I mean, that's what I do, right? And especially if you're looking for leads. And so that's what I was doing at the time, was like, okay, let me find this person. I want to find their contact information, just make sure it's the same person. It's like got the same name. He's from Portland, Oregon, whatever it is. And you find out, oh, the LinkedIn profile is at the top of the Google search. Click on there. It's the same guy. Great. Perfect. And then while I was on there, by accident, stumbling upon LinkedIn, I click the home feed button and I see it wasn't just like these news articles. It was some guy like on a video, right, talking about business tips. Or I think at that point it was someone who was doing like a 30-day challenge. And he was saying, this is the first video I'm ever doing on LinkedIn and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what is this guy talking about? But I was intrigued. And I was like, wow, this person is doing something that I could never, ever do. And he's totally uncomfortable doing it. Hey, maybe I could do that. And so for me, it was like a big paradigm shift, and seeing other people stumbling and just starting out like their baby steps in content creation. Back then, almost no one was doing it. It was like, it was very few and far between. And I literally just jumped in. I was like, okay, let me try this. And I just started connecting with more people and following people and content, et cetera, sharing. And that was, long story short, that was the beginning.
I think that's so incredible that it was by complete accident, first of all, that you found out that LinkedIn was a potential platform for being somewhat similar to a Facebook and an Instagram in terms of being able to content post, but it being professional. And then also I think the big key here is not only did you stumble upon it, but you realized, like, something clicked that, like what you were talking about earlier, this is an opportunity. I should seriously look deeper into this or dive deeper into this and start doing it. I mean, imagine where you'd be today if you didn't do that. If 4 years ago, you never started the LinkedIn thing, where do you think you'd be today, Yonah?
No idea. No idea. No, honestly, like, I have so much to tie back to. Like, everything basically has come from that, from whether it's from the podcasting, whether it's from the meetups, meeting people. It all comes back to those people who I met through LinkedIn. I mean, the clients that we have for Cost Segregation, the fact that I'm like recognized as like the world expert on this subject and have spoken on 200 podcasts and et cetera. It's all from, has started with, obviously it's branched out since then, but it really comes back to LinkedIn. And so I started speaking about this as I got exposure. After like a year of doing it, I got like a lot of exposure and just, found benefit. I just kept putting more and more time into it. The more I was getting out of it, the more time I focused on putting into it. And I think that's really for any business, right? If you're doing something and it's working, right, do more of it, right? And so especially something like this, where social media in general is an incredible way to communicate. And podcasting as well, same thing. But social media and podcasting are great ways to communicate with a mass amount of people all at once. if you're busy, if you're any industry, right, you're looking for deals, right? You're looking, let's say, Josh Ferrari, you're looking for deals in Alabama, right? You're looking for multifamily deals. So what can you do? You can either start cold calling everyone, right? Every owners of properties around, getting information, skip tracing, whatever it is. And that's very tedious. It's long, hard work, and no one really likes cold calling, right?
Right.
Or you can, on social media, become known as the Alabama multifamily expert. Okay.
Right.
And so therefore, you just keep showing up every single day and people recognize you. They see that in your tagline. They connect immediately. Josh Ferrari, Alabama multifamily. That's it. That's all they think of. Even if you're not yet, okay, you only own, right, a few properties at this point, right? But by establishing that branding that social media can do, it will keep reinforcing that into people's minds every single time that they see your name and they see your face and they see that tagline, Alabama multifamily real estate, whatever it is, whatever industry you're doing, whatever it is you're doing, they'll see that. And anytime subconsciously they come across anything that has to do with Alabama and multifamily, they're going to think of you. That's the incredible power of branding and social media.
So incredible. Love it.
And so eventually you'll have deals coming to you. People will be sending you deals because they'll say, hey, this deal came across my plate. It's in Alabama. I know you're in that market. Why don't you take a look at it?
Yeah, you're so right. I've seen a lot of that in my own business after I've been trying to get deeper and deeper into social media and realizing that it is a force to be reckoned with. It is a very beneficial thing, because I think it's important to point out here that before I started challenge that I did last year, where I was trying to raise money for 30 days, I absolutely hated social media. And the reason that I hated social media was because I thought it was a place of sheer hatred and separation and anxiety and stress and just negative people everywhere. And everyone always says you want to surround yourself with the right people in order to be, successful. And I'm like, well, I'm not surrounding myself with social media because it's nothing but horrible.
Right.
But after I did this challenge, I realized very quickly that there were a lot of benefits. And if you haven't heard any of my previous podcasts or know anything about me, and you're just listening to the show for the first time, I did a 30-day money raising challenge last year and raised $6 million in just 30 days. So after being able to do something like that through none other than just social media, it was like, there is something to this. Like there's something that I have been missing my entire life is right here. And so I think it's important to note that there can be some positive, or a lot of actually positive aspects out of social media, but it also does come from surrounding yourself with the right people. And I too have noticed that a lot of that comes from LinkedIn because it's a professional platform. I've seen more quote unquote negativity from Instagram, but I've had a Facebook for a really long time. And so I only have like close friends on there. And so that's more been like hometown folk, college, high school, you know what I mean? It's just more of that closer knit group of people. But anyhow, you mentioned, Yonah, that you have begun to put more and more time into social media. And I, after having followed you for the last year or so, am just dumbfounded and have to know, how much time would you say you spend on social media on a daily basis? And then is that just you? Are you just doing that all by yourself, or do you have like a social media manager? What does that look like?
So I do not have any social media manager. I actually got a message from someone today, random person on LinkedIn. It's just hilarious. He's like, hey, who does your LinkedIn marketing? I would like to talk with them. So I just answered me. Right? And he's like, get the F out of here. Oh, he's like, you're good. Okay. So establishing that. So I don't have anyone working for me. I'm actually trying right now. I'm trying to onboard someone to help me with it because it has become a little bit overwhelming. But how many hours do I spend? It's hard to tell, but it's basically my go-to. I have other things going on. I have pretty, relatively full calendar of calls and, meetings, Zoom, etc. But anything in between it goes back to social media. Like that's, I have email, but that's what I'm working on. I mean, that's really where I make those connections. I have my LinkedIn inbox is much, much more busy than my email, and my email is pretty full all the time, right? So it means I have to constantly stay on top of it. And so it's really because it's about building these relationships. And I strongly feel that's what social media does or allows you to do, is to just have a accelerated process of building relationships with real people. And I totally agree with you about the negativity that can be found, especially on other platforms, which is why I focus my main efforts on LinkedIn. Although even on the other platforms, it's all the same. Like I have a kind of unique approach from that. A lot of people will, kind of have their family and friends and share kind of whatever they want on things. I share the same thing across all platforms. Because I don't really have my friends, like the community that I come from. There are not a lot of people that are on Instagram or Facebook. And so for me, I kind of all approaching it from a business perspective, which allows me to get around a lot of that negativity and just not even focus on it. So even on Facebook, I'm really focused more on like the groups that I'm a part of. There's a lot of great content, a lot of great communication going on there. So how much time, it's kind of hard to tell, but it's basically, it's the default.
So has it had any major effect on like work-life balance, like going home every day and like spending time on LinkedIn? I mean, it's like, do you get to spend a lot of time with your kids still? What does the daily life of Yonah Weiss look like?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, I definitely spend, thank God, a lot of time with my kids when I'm around them. There's certain times where, I'll still, even when I'm at home, I have certain hours where I'm like, certain hours during the week or whatever, where I'm still focused on some work things, but pretty much I try to, be present when I'm around them, which, I would highly recommend to anyone. So it's kind of when in my working mode. And I also, I don't work on basically Fridays. I take almost Friday off entirely, and Saturday, because of the Sabbath, like totally off. So it means not just off, like I have no devices, like nothing's even on. So those days are totally full focused. And then, and Sunday as well, pretty much most of the time. So to that extent, it allows me to have that freedom where I can, the times that I am working right during the work week, I can put in, a lot more focus and energy. And the other times that I'm not, I can put my energy focused on, the other main important things, in my life.
Right. Love that. All right, Yonah. So I think one of the big questions here inside of social media marketing in general is what to post and when to post it. So what would you say in your personal, basically bachelor's degree in social media marketing, what would you say is a good ratio of posts throughout any one given week? Like, do you need to post once a day, 7 days a week? Or does it need to be like specific days at specific times? What do you think?
I would highly recommend everyone kind of doing their own experimenting and trying things out. I'm a big proponent of posting every day. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean 7 days a week. Maybe it means 5 days a week. You don't necessarily post on the weekends, whatever it is, but be consistent. I would say a minimum of 3 to 4 days a week. And as you know, I've done these 10-day challenges on LinkedIn, and it really started from like a 30-day challenge, because if you do something consistently for 30 days in a row, you're likely going to continue doing that. I cut it down to 10 days because it is pretty overwhelming to take on 30 days. So people will just stray away from it from the beginning. But the reason why I do that is 2 reasons. Number one, to hold people accountable, with a group of friends and peers that held each other accountable. But the second thing is just to go out of your comfort zone and post. Doesn't matter what it is. Now, it does matter. So I'll change that. It doesn't matter in the sense that you just have to jump in. You just have to do something. You just have to post something and be consistent about it every day and try out different things. But it does matter in the sense that what should you be posting? What shouldn't you be posting? Each platform has its own kind of rules and algorithms that like certain types of posts more than others. Video is great, especially if you have subtitles, captions, because that's going to make sure that people watch it. And because 80% of people watch videos without the sound on. So you want to make sure that it is, able to be viewed in that regard. But I would say in general, not specific in terms of what type of content, but in general, I would say the best thing to do is share your journey. And it sounds like almost cliche. You may have heard this before, but sharing your journey, the whole point of social media, it's social. It's a way for you to develop relationships with people. And like I said before, speak to people at large en masse. You do that by sharing you, right? Who you are, not necessarily information all the time. It's good if you are a subject matter expert, it's good to share some of that stuff, right? People get to know and get a little deeper how much you know, but more than anything, people want to know you. So if you can share whatever it is that you're going through, and especially storytelling, it's a great form, whether it's through pictures, through just text, plain text by itself is also great. If you can tell a little story, or videos, a really great way just to share with your audience or those people following you who you are, what you're doing, and they feel like they know you by just watching you and following you. And there's thousands upon thousands of people that are going to be just watching you and not even not even commenting. I like to call them silent fans, right? People call them lurkers, right? But I call them silent fans because that's really what they are. People, and we do this all the time. We all watch others. We all consume content. We may not, they don't know who we are necessarily. And so too with you, as you start posting more on social media, you'll find there's a lot of those people out there.
I think the statistic you just mentioned, that 80% of people watch videos with the sound off, that's a very interesting statistic. One, because I've never heard of it, but two, because it makes sense. Like me personally, when I play a video, I'm not immediately turning the sound on. The video is just playing and I'm just looking at what it is and deciphering probably in the first 3 to 5 seconds whether or not I'm going to turn the sound on or whether or not I'm going to continue to watch this video. So I hadn't even thought about that. Make sure you have subtitles. That's I'm going to have to start incorporating that. Appreciate it, Yonah. Appreciate the advice right there.
All right.
But also, I think you hit the nail on the head exactly on what you're saying. I, in my own personal studies and journey, have found out or done a little bit of research and actually found a study, that like cliche saying where folks say most people buy on emotion and justify it with logic. Well, it's actually a proven fact that 95% of people buy on emotion and justify it with logic. So 95% of the population on Earth is going to be more interested in something that can bring them into you emotionally, which most of the time is going to be your story. They want to get attracted to who the heck you are, what you're all about, your family, your faith, your hobbies. Like, tell me everything. Tell me the fact that your big toe broke and got weird fungus in it. Like, tell me all this weird stuff so that I can maybe relate to you, or so that what you just did, have a good laugh, or, I just want to be involved on a deeper emotional level. And what I found, at least in the real estate space specifically, is that a lot of people post just content. They're like, let me just tell you, hey, there's what a capital stack looks like. Here's how you raise money for a syndication. Did you know you can invest through an IRA? Did you know you can make way more money doing this than like stocks? And I am 1000% guilty of it because I did the same thing from the get-go. Like, I got to figure out what's good content to say, got to make sure I'm educating my following. But if you look at the interaction from those people, you realize that the same people liking and commenting are the same folks posting the exact same thing, trying to get into the exact same space. Like, you're not finding any new people. And so I think you hit the nail on the head with the whole story side of it and really getting people to connect with you on an emotional level.
Yeah. 100%.
So the next question that I have comes from trying to grow the network. The whole purpose of doing this is to grow the network, grow the brand, grow the business. Now, the way you do that is you get these friend requests, you get these DMs, you get these folks trying to talk to you because now they're interested in you. How do you really know who to respond to? Because I think I've actually seen you post about this a couple of times. You don't want to just accept everyone. You don't want to just reply to everyone because it ends up being this huge waste of time. How do you kind of decipher that?
It takes time. It takes a little bit of strategy and filtering. And I think it's going to be different for everyone. But once you establish what your goals are, what you're trying to get out of it, then that should really determine, who you should be connecting with, who you should be trying to build those relationships with, because essentially that's really what this is. Now, I have my own personal rules when it comes to who I'm connecting with, who I'm not. Like most people get all these messages all the time and get all these connection requests all the time. It's much easier for me on LinkedIn than like on Facebook or anywhere else, just because you can open their profile and basically see, number one, if they're a real person, because there's a lot of bots out there, believe it or not. There's a lot of fake profiles and just bots. And so that's something you got to be wary of. But number two, do you see any potential? And it's hard to know, but you can basically, I'll openly accept almost anyone unless I see very clearly that it's just going to lead to spam, right? It's just going to lead to them just pitching me, and it's totally unrelated to anything that I need or know. Or number two, if they're just from like a totally different country and who knows how they found my profile, and there's basically zero way that we'll have anything. You can follow anyone, right? So there's a big difference on LinkedIn, especially between following and connecting. So on a lot of other platforms, you just have one option, right? You can just follow someone or connect with them, whatever it is. On LinkedIn, you have the option. You can either follow them or connect with them. You can follow endlessly people. You can have unlimited followers, but connections, it's something where apparently you're only limited to 30,000 connections. That seems like an astronomical number, but still you might get there one day and be like, okay, I don't need these connections. I need others, whatever it is. Anyways, you can also message people. You can have contact with them that way. It's a delicate balance. I definitely make sure to, if they're not in the real estate industry, I'll like take a minute to just check out their profile, make sure, and they don't have to be in the real estate industry to connect, because in what I do, and I'm sure you can relate to this, probably, more than 50% of the people that you actually want to talk to are not going to be in the real estate industry. They're going to be investors that are doctors or lawyers or IT professionals, whatever it is. But you just want to make sure, number one, they're a real person. That's my main criteria. I don't want to just have my inbox filled up with these messages from bots and stuff like that.
Oh, I totally understand. Sometimes I get scared, bro. Sometimes I'll post something and I'll have like 100 notifications from LinkedIn in like a 10-hour period. And I'm scared to open it because I'm like, I don't feel like sifting through all the stuff, going through all the DMs, messaging folks back. What do I even say? Do I really want to hold a conversation with 50 different people at one time? You know what I mean? Like,
right.
How do you, I guess I'm transitioning now from the friend request and the connection request to the DMs now. When you actually get a DM from someone, even if you don't have a request, because I think in the premium version, they can just send you something. How do you know whether or not to respond?
It does take time. And I did mention this before. I just reiterate it. It takes time. I'm not going to lie about this. It really does take time. So you have to kind of figure out how much time do you have to allocate to this? How much time can you really spend on it? And is it viable? Are you actually getting business from it? Is it actually something that you see potential coming out of it? If the answer to those questions are yes, then the time is worth it, right? It's time well spent. Yes. If you have, just speaking to you, if you're looking for investors and you have people reaching out to you, the conversation doesn't need to go so deep. If someone's just like, I'd love to jump on a call with you and talk about how our synergies. No, just get to the point. I'd love, happy to connect with people, happy to connect with anyone, happy to make new connections, see if there's any potential synergy, but you're not going to get on that on a conversation, right? Meeting people, like putting this all into context. Let's just do this. Just put it into context. I like to view LinkedIn like a 24-hour networking event. Okay. So, and I put everything in that context. So if you're at a networking event and someone comes up to you and just puts their flyer in your face and doesn't even acknowledge you as a person, how are you going to respond to that?
I don't know, smack it out my face or walk away.
Exactly. The same way you're going to respond if someone sends you a direct message with like this 3 paragraphs of like, I don't even know you, but this is what I do. Like, let's schedule a call. That's exactly the same response you would have in real life. Okay. You should have to that. Now, you may have one person may have some more compassion than another, and you might respond and be like, it's really not the right way to go about doing this. Maybe try a different approach. You seem like a nice person. Maybe we can tell me a little bit about you, check out my posts, whatever. I like to tell people, because I post constantly, if I get like a random message like that, I'll just say, check out my posts. That's the best way I like to get to know people, through engaging with my posts. So they'll really get to know me and get to know what I do and et cetera, through my content. And so that's a really great recommendation. But again, putting everything back into that context of networking, how much time do you want to spend in that? Like, what are you trying to get out of that? Are you going to speak to every single person? Who knows? Maybe this person might have a friend. And I know you can relate to this with your 30-day challenge, when you spoke to one guy and that one guy told you about another friend that had even more money to invest with you. And so you never know where those connections are going to lead. And so going into it with that kind of positive approach, yes, I'm happy to connect, happy to have a conversation, right? Happy to keep the lines of communication open. And you never know where it's going to go from there.
It's just a constant battle, huh? It's like endless split testing. Or let me see it.
It is. No, it is. It is endless. And you can't necessarily keep up on everything, but you try to do the best you can.
Absolutely. All right. I think that the $1 million question everyone has been waiting for me to ask throughout this interview is, drum roll, please. How do you come up? And I think a lot of people have actually asked you this, and or you posted about it, and I've like gone back and read the comments and saw that like more than half of the folks mentioned this. How do you come up with content to post about on the daily basis that you're trying to post, or on a weekly basis, or whatever it is? I feel like at some point it gets to a point where there's nothing else I can really talk about myself with, and I don't want to keep posting about business. Like, how do you just keep brainstorming these really creative things to post about?
It really comes down to when you just get in the groove and you continue doing it. It's funny. And you're right. I have spoken about this, but I literally like see everything that happens to a certain degree in terms of like content, so it really does come down to that. And sharing your journey, there's endless things you can talk about. If you just had a meeting with an investor, or you just had a conversation with a vendor, or you just had an interaction at your property, you were looking at fixing anything and everything, you take a picture and make a story out of that. You can, take a short video and just share your experience. If you just got off a phone call with the insurance company, you just got whatever it is, there are endless things. And so when you kind of you're talking about how do you come up with the content, the way I see it is like, there's so much that I don't post that I could, just because I don't have the time, or I don't whatever to post like 10 times a day. And I don't know if everyone wants to see like 10 posts a day, whatever, but you could. And when you start to realize that there are certain things that are consistent, and once you start getting in a groove, like your podcast, you can post about your podcast. And instead of just doing like a generic, like, here's the link, this is the thing, check it out. You can change that up, and you can literally tell a story through that will actually be engaging and have people want to, listen in more so. And those are different ideas as well. Obviously, if you have a podcast, you have great content. If you've been a guest on a podcast, there's content right there. Like I don't need to do it every single time, but I could take a screenshot of the two of us right now and be like, I was just on Josh Ferrari's podcast. This is awesome. That's content. It doesn't matter what it is. And again, to your point, to share about like those concepts of like IRR and cap rates, and this and that. No one wants, very few people, I shouldn't say no one, but very few people want to really hear about that all the time. They're great blog posts. You definitely can do it. It helps, but don't do it all the time. Change it up, share your journey. That's what I come back to. And there's endless content when you start to frame things like that.
Share your journey. Share. Love it. All right. Last question before we jump into the next segment of the show. What is like one thing that you found out throughout this journey of going through social media marketing that you never thought you would? One just crazy thing, or something weird and awkward. I don't know. What's just one weird thing?
The weirdest thing for me, and it's still weird for me, is that when like literally like people like think I'm famous, right? And I honestly get this. And it's still very weird to me. Like people, like I got a phone call the other day. It's like, is this really Yonah Weiss? Like, I'm not like a Hollywood star, like I'm not really that famous. But it's funny because people view you in that sense. And so that's weird to me because, I'm very down to earth, happy to talk to anyone, anytime, and help anyone and go out of my way to do that. So that's one really weird thing. Another really weird thing, and I'll just share this because it comes up often as well, is that, and it really goes to that first point as well. I never imagined, and you can't really you can't quantify that, to imagine like how big your network can become and how far your reach can become unless you actually put in the effort and do it. It's just so, I wouldn't necessarily use the word weird to me, but it's almost unfathomable that, like you mentioned to me earlier before the call, like all these big people on my podcast, like I'm very blessed that I have this incredible network. And the fact that I get to speak to people in the multifamily, the commercial real estate industry all over the country in every market, and people that have been doing this for decades and are really, top notch of their game. it's incredible because the position that I have, and I do put it a lot on the fact that I have an incredible company that I work for, and that cost segregation just happens to be an incredible tool that almost everyone needs anyways. And it happens to be that it's something that saves you on taxes. And for some reason, if I save you a lot of money, like tens, hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars in taxes, for some reason, you like me a lot. And I just made that somehow that connection is made. And so I'm in a very good position that, the relationship I have with, all the people, the clients, the people that I work with is good. Thank God, 99% of the time. Obviously, there's a couple people that are just whatever. But, and so I've been in a very good position with that regard. But it's just weird to me how you can actually grow that huge presence. Never imagined it could happen.
It is. It's really powerful. And knowing that you are this master, famous Hollywood star of cost segregation, I'm not sure that I've ever asked this question or that I've read this about you before, but do you actually invest in real estate? Or are you just like the face of cost seg, the face of tax savings? What does that look like?
Yeah, I'm the face of tax savings, but I do invest. And the truth is, because of the experience that I've had among the multifamily people, among the real estate people over the past several years, has opened me up much more to wanting to do that and seeing others who have been doing something else and then gone full time into real estate. So yes, I do. I've invested passively in a few deals, and I'm going, and this is my goal right now, is to really get more involved on the active side as well.
Oh, snap. Yonah Weiss is coming to slay
coming for you.
Oh, I love it. I love it. All right, Yonah, let's jump into the next segment of the show called the Pod Decks segment. And I don't know if you remember it from last time, but basically it's just a company called Pod Decks that creates this little deck of cards. This is going to be pick a card, any card. We're going to pick two.
I like that one.
We're just going to ask, you like which one?
Can I pick a card, or you have to pick a card?
Well, we're gonna shuffle like this, and you're gonna tell me when to stop.
Stop. But like any magician, you could really pull any card, and I wouldn't even know it. Stop.
You wouldn't even know. Yeah, it's rigged. Rigged. Telling you. All right. First question: what's the weirdest thing you've ever eaten with bacon on it?
That's a great question. Because of my religion, we don't eat any pork products, anything bacon, any pig, nothing like that. It's completely forbidden. So can we have a pass?
Well, then let's just ask the same question without the bacon. Like, what's the weirdest thing you've ever eaten?
Okay, there you go. Weirdest thing I've ever eaten. For me, and it's not even something so weird, but tongue. Right? Tongue, it was weird. Cow tongue, it's a delicacy for a lot of people, but tongue, it's just a really interesting texture, and I didn't like it.
So it was just cow tongue? There's no special animal tongue that is a delicacy? It's just cow tongue?
No, it was a cow tongue, yeah.
Goodness. How do you cook that? What does that look like?
I mean, I've never cooked cow tongue, so I can't. I love to cook, but I've never done that just because I don't like it. But I think it needs to be cooked for a long time. It's very, very interesting.
That is definitely weird. All right. I'll give you that one. Next question.
It didn't have bacon on it.
Okay. No bacon, no pork, promise. If you could know the truth behind any one secret or mystery, what would it be?
That's a good one. Moses in the Torah, in the Bible, he asked God to know his ways. He wanted to know the secrets behind, God's creations and why good things happen to bad people and seemingly things. And that he was denied. To know that would be the best, to really know the inner workings of God. I think it would be, but at the same time, I think it wouldn't be, because if you revealed things like that, I don't want to know that. You come out knowing stuff that you probably would rather not know.
I think our minds would just blow,
Yeah. Probably. I wouldn't have the capacity for that. That's for sure. But yeah, I'll stick with it because it's still pretty awesome.
Yeah, I think that would be. I didn't even think about that. How do you always come up with these great answers? Maybe it's just social media and the networking, and you're just a great spokesman at this point. Have you actually spoken live at any conferences, or has it been mostly virtual?
No, I have done a bunch of live speaking, public speaking as well.
I need to go to these conferences. Tell me the next time you're going to be at one.
We're going to get back at it. Yeah, we're going to get back at it. I'm actually planning on, we'll see if it happens, but I'm hoping to go to the IMN, which is a great multifamily conference, and it's happening in Atlanta in July, the end of July.
I am in. I think I've heard of that. Well, I have to check it out. All right. All right. Now we're going to go ahead and jump into the last segment of the show called the Core Four, which we've already asked you these questions before, but let's see if they change.
They'll probably change.
Question: what is your favorite real estate related book?
I don't remember what I said last time, which is a good thing, because since then, so I've read a bunch of real estate books, but there's a guy called Ryan Serhant. I don't know if you heard of him. He's one of the top like real estate broker in New York City. So, over like $1 billion in real estate, really incredible. He has a TV show called the $1 Million Listing, I think it's called. So he wrote a book called Sell It Like Serhant. He actually wrote a new book recently, which I didn't get yet, but Sell It Like Serhant. It's not necessarily real estate related, but it is very real estate related because obviously he's a real estate agent, a real estate owner. Sell It Like Serhant. Just incredible. Anyone in sales, anyone doing anything in related to that, which anyone in real estate is to a certain extent. Really, we're all in sales too. Everyone is, no matter what you do. There you go. Sell It Like Serhant.
Yeah, check that book out. All right. Next question. What do you think your unique skill is that helped you become successful?
I don't think it's unique, but I mentioned before that I go out of my way to like connect people. I call myself the people connector. I really do make that a priority to see how I can add value. And the best value you can have is when you can actually refer one person to another. When you build that trust with people and they actually take that, and when it's actually meaningful, when you truly can understand another person and you can understand who they are, what they need, and you can kind of fill that need with connecting them with someone that can help, that's tremendous. I mean, that's like unbelievable. Like, so I go and I do that because I find that adds the maximum value you can possibly add to another person, that you can give to another person. And so that has helped me, I think, more than anything.
Okay. I like that. And I think I would say, I don't know about anyone else listening, but I would say that's unique because not a lot of people really like to go out of their way to benefit someone else. Not to say everyone's like greedy and selfish, but we are. I mean, at the end of the day, that's kind of like our inner workings. And so it's constantly battling against that. And you've made it almost like a virtue, like an instinct to try to go out of your way. So I'd say it's unique. All right. Next question. Tell me something that's true about real estate that almost nobody agrees with you on.
So I would say it's become much more popular belief because I've been saying it a lot, but if you own real estate or you're an active real estate investor, you should not be paying income tax. It's just the rules that are there just make that to be the reality. So not that you shouldn't, but that you don't. And so I think that's people are like, wow, how is that even possible? But it is.
Yeah. And then for anyone interested in learning more about that, go talk to Yonah. Go check out his social media, and you can learn tons and tons of stuff about tax savings. All right. Last question. What one piece of advice would you give to our listeners wanting to succeed in real estate investing?
We've already touched upon this a little bit, but it's really about who you know. So making the effort to get out of your comfort zone to meet more people. So whether that's in-person networking, whether that's online networking through social media or through these online, events. I have a weekly Zoom meetup that I do every Wednesday, and just incredible people that I've met through that. And that's the number one way to succeed. It's not what you know, it's who you know.
Love it. All right. If anybody wants to learn more about you and your business, Yonah, how can people get in touch with you?
Follow me on TikTok. That's the only way. I'm just kidding. I don't even have TikTok, but LinkedIn, you can reach out to me. You can go to YonahWeiss.com, especially if you want to learn anything about cost segregation. Hit me up. Happy to connect with everyone. Make sure that you mention that you found me or you're reaching out because you listened to this podcast.
What's going to happen if they mention that?
I will take them much more seriously.
Love it. Love it. All right, anyway, I appreciate you coming out on the show for the second time. I feel like I've gotten quadrupled the value already just from this show alone. So Thank you for taking the time out of your insanely busy social media marketing and full-time job and full-time dad and full-time husband lifestyle to come on the show with us. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure, Josh. Thanks again. Looking forward to the third time.
Absolutely. Yes. This show was absolutely amazing. Coming out on the back end, after having listened to everything Yonah Weiss said, I mean, he gave me some advice. First of all, like he had some great tidbits of knowledge in there on things to post, different statistics. We got a really good high level and in-depth look at what he does on a daily basis in his business. And then also what could potentially work for us, what could potentially work for you, what could potentially work for me. And I think it's something to be pointed out that he has created this level of success all by himself. Basically, he has not had a social media manager. He has not had someone running the day-to-day in his social media. So him being able to be so active and get so much out of social media, the fact that it can actually be something positive in your life, I think is something to be pointed out. So hope you guys enjoyed this show. Please do not forget to leave a 5-star rating and review. We actually got hit on iTunes, interestingly enough. A fun fact, I guess. Here recently, we had roughly 255-star ratings on iTunes. And then overnight, I think over the last week or two, I noticed that we only had 50. And I thought, well, that's weird. Maybe it's just a glitch. Maybe something happened with the Apple system. Maybe they'll come back. But they all just vanished. They're just gone. They haven't come back. It's been 2-3 weeks. So I don't know what happened, but we really need help from you guys to kind of build us back up the ranks there. And primarily what this does is it helps other folks to learn more about real estate investing and all the different creative strategies that there are to grow your brand, grow your perception, either preserve your wealth, grow your wealth, all through real estate investing. And we really want to help as many people out as we possibly can. So help us out there. And that's all I got for you guys this week. This is Josh Ferrari signing off.